Hello there. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm Colleen Klimczak. I'm an organizational and productivity coach and a certified professional organizer. I own Peace of Mind Professional Organizing, LLC. Since 2003, I've been helping my clients live better lives through organizing and organizational and productivity coaching. I support my clients and my community with coaching, in-person and virtual organizing, my weekly podcast called Your Organized Life with Colleen Klimczak, a free weekly virtual productivity session called Finish Line Friday, a free weekly email newsletter, and regular content on Facebook and Instagram. I also offer presentations and professional development to groups and companies. And coming soon, I will be launching a membership circle to support my community with even more coaching and productivity content. Want to finish strong this week? Join me for Finish Line Friday every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Central for a 2-hour productivity session. Drop me an email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com to request my Zoom room link, or follow the Zoom room link on my Instagram or Facebook pages. Welcome to Your Organized Life, episode 116, I do believe. So this week we are talking about finding, keeping, and returning to focus. Last week, I mentioned that I am creating an upcoming professional development presentation around making the best use of our time and helping us stay on task and focused. To review, in last week's podcast episode and article, the first part of that process needs to be identifying what is important for us to do and what the best use of our time will be. And then we need to get to work. And sometimes we need to get back to work after distractions try to take us off course. So this week, now that we know what to do, we are looking at how to help a team and ourselves remain on task and stay focused, or return to focus throughout our day. So today is about tools in that focus toolbox. I am going to mention many strategies today. Some will resonate with you and some will not, and that's okay. Perhaps one works with today's schedule and workload, but maybe you need to try something else tomorrow with its schedule and workload. So it's good to have options. A highlight of the tools we'll touch on today, in no particular order: getting ready and self-regulation, deep breathing and nature breaks, starting with a short list of 3, time blocking and batch work, specificity, recipes for repeated work or duplicative processes, phone calls or meetings, rest, and routines. So that's where I'm headed today. So let's get started. Getting ready and self-regulation. I am currently a success coach for a cohort of students working through a 13-week Teacher's Aid Readiness Program. And we were just talking through the lesson on student and classroom behavior. The lesson talked a lot about self-regulation and helping a student to be ready for and open to learning. And what occurred to me is we as adults need to be the same, ready for and open to work. So some days we may start our workday energized and focused and ready to do the work. And some days we're not, right? But even on the days that we aren't ready, the work still needs to get done. So how do we become ready for and open to learning or working? Perhaps we do a short meditation or read motivational words. Maybe we do some deep breathing, phone a friend for a brief pep talk, take a walk around our workspace, and get the blood pumping. Maybe you have a first few things ritual, like grabbing a cup of tea or coffee or water, turning on your work lamp, putting your phone on silent, and opening up the blinds in your office. I have worked remotely for the 21-year lifespan of my business. But some days as I sit down to do my work, I will close my eyes and imagine the turning of the closed sign on my imaginary door to open, right? So like if it was a storefront, as a signal to myself that it is work time. The second tool is deep breathing and nature breaks. Transitions are tough some days, and they are often where we can lose focus the fastest. So as we shift from one batch of work to another, or one block of time to another, or, start or finish a meeting, or drop the kids off at school and then come home, whatever those transitions look like to you, it helps to acknowledge first that there is a transition and also to take a few minutes for self-care. A hiking guide many years ago called them nature breaks, when we respect our biology and do those survival tasks we must. So maybe it's a new beverage, a bathroom break, a few minutes of deep breathing to oxygenate our brain and refocus on the important stuff. Next up on the list of tools is starting with our short list of 3. Every day needs a few of those needle movers or change makers that we talked about last week. 3 or maybe 4 tops. And this is a short list, but a vital one. Every workday morning, or ideally the night before as you close up for the day, identify the important tasks that must get done in the midst of the rest of your workday. Those, to repeat from last week, best use of our time items that we identified last week, right? So what is important? What's something only I can do? What are other projects waiting on me to complete? What are things that other people on the team are waiting for? For me, today, that short list of 3 is writing this article for a podcast recording, publishing this week's newsletter and a coaching special, and packing my bag for the next 2 days of presentations. Those are the things that must get done to deliver work to others and to keep me moving towards my goals, in addition to the many meetings that I have today. And I have blocks of time today dedicated to those tasks, which brings me to time blocking and batch work. So these are 2 related strategies, and so I am lumping them together, time blocking and batch work. Per the Todoist.com website, time blocking is a time management method where you divide your day into blocks of time. Each block is dedicated to a specific task or group of tasks. For example, you might block out 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. for checking and responding to emails, 10 a.m. to noon for working on a specific project, and 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. to have lunch, right? So that is what time blocking can do. It's pretty simple, but it can be very powerful. And batch work is related because it collects tasks of similar categories or themes so that we can complete them together, probably in those blocks of time, right? And also realize economies and synergy by doing so. For example, during an assigned time block, maybe I batch my work to take care of client communications. I collect and complete a batch of client care texts and emails with a copy and paste message, and my schedule open on my computer as well for setting next client appointments, right? So if I'm just thinking about all client care in that block of time, in that batch of work, I am likely to get a whole lot more done, and I always do. In terms of finding, keeping, and returning to focus, time blocking and batch work ensure that the work that we've decided is important today, that best use of our time work, right, gets done. Another example, during an assigned time block, typically for me on a Thursday, I tackle my accounts receivable and payable tasks when I have my calendar and my bookkeeping and invoicing software open. I pay my bills, I make deposits, I send out invoices, I check in on and send reminders on unpaid invoices paid to me because, I like money. Money's important. But again, I think all of those income and banking and bill paying thoughts at the same time, which gets those tasks done more swiftly and well and consistently. And also in recent podcast terms, both efficiently and effectively. For yourself, take out the words client or money and fill in the blank, right? Maybe it's an operations type of task that you can batch into time blocks. Maybe it's new client focused communication for this hour and current client focused for the next hour, right? What are your important things? And where is there a block of uninterrupted time to do them? What we also need to do is make sure that we block and batch for the known commodities, leaving space for the unknowns. So we can start with our 3 or 4 things that we have to do today, but we also know that most days, new stuff is also coming in. So we start the day with our own intention, with our own plan, but we also need to leave space and flexibility for emails, calls, issues that come up outside the plan. One strategy could be to plan for 30 minutes or an hour of intentional planned work on our best use of our time. And then a 30-minute block of today's emails, text, phone calls, new concerns, right? So balancing planned work and new work ensures that both get accomplished today. We also need to get very specific. We need to recognize that often our projects and work for today and this week are actually a group of tasks. We see this in time blocking and batch work when we assign a, bookkeeping and money tasks block and identify the batch work for that block. When we get really specific with the tasks, it's also easier to prioritize the tasks. Choose an easy and quick one to gain momentum, or choose a tougher one when time and energy allows, right? But if we don't have that list already specific, it's going to be hard for us to be able to know what to focus on. I can add a block for client care, but some days I need to list each client that I need to contact in that block and what I need to contact them about. Because sometimes when I sit down, my mind is a blank, right? So when I sit down for that time block to do the work, I want to be able to more easily focus on the tasks and not on the planning or the thinking or the ruminating about the tasks. Which leads me to, in some ways, recipes for repeated work or duplicative processes. So I know I talk a lot about recipes because they are a great way to stay on track and focused with recurring or repeated work. For example, one day last week, a time block was dedicated to February presentations, and the batch work was to confirm the 6 presentations I have coming up this month. I've spoken in recent articles and episodes that I've created a recipe for that repeated work. It's important work. It's definitely, presenting is one of my important income streams for my business, and that definitely moves me towards my goals. And confirming the presentations has become both efficient and effective with the use of recipes. So what does that look like? Let's look at one specifically. Specifically, I am teaching a stress management class in the middle of February for another career readiness training program that I teach at South Suburban College. My recipe says, presentation, what, ? In this case, stress management. When, ? In this case, like the start and stop time. And specifically that day, it's February 18th, all day. Also on that list is update handouts. Update the invoice with this month's dates, right? And then email those. And I have a list always of the handouts that I need for each of my presentations. Also on that is, pack my bag, confirm the time, all that kind of stuff is on the same recipe, and I use it over and over again, right? I can use that over and over again for each presentation, 6 of them in February. And I can do it over and over again every month for all of them. And the recipe helps me to stay focused and also able to refocus if I get distracted. And that's important because very often we can be taken away from the task in front of us. And it's a way for us to kind of bookmark our work so we can get back to it when time allows and we can pick back up again where we left off. So we leave ourselves these paths, these notes, these hints, these recipes, whatever you want to call them, so we can get back to business. I also want to put in a few notes here about managing your phone calls like meetings. So unmanaged communications can derail a day like nobody's business. So quickly derailed if we don't manage our communications. So my suggestion is to manage our conversations, at least during work hours, like they were a meeting. Meaning, do not pick up the phone or take a call unless you know the purpose, agenda, desired outcomes, and a realistic time estimate for the call. Run it like a meeting, right? With specific start and end times and, a little time to jot down notes that you need to take care of. Again, just like you would a meeting, right? So manage your phone calls like meetings, especially during the workday. Almost done here, but I do want to say a few words about rest, right? So if we're talking about finding and keeping and returning to focus, we also know We can't maintain focus if we don't rest sometimes. I know that today I've been talking all about how to maintain or find focus and how to get back on track if we lose focus. But sometimes the best way to do that is to step away for a few minutes or even longer. Sometimes the best use of my time is to rest and step away. Sometimes we just need to relax. And so that can be the best use of our time as well. We need to remember that rest sometimes can be just as important as productivity and sometimes even more important. And I'm saying that out loud because I need to remember that for myself as well. The final tool today isn't really a tool for work. It's actually a tool for, if you want to think about it, my last suggestion is having routines for personal and household tasks, because if we know that those survival and maintenance tasks, right? We just talked about survival and maintenance a couple weeks ago as well. Knowing that those are taken care of means that we can focus on the work in front of us because we know that those other areas are taken care of, right? We don't have to get distracted by them in the course of our workday. Let's review the focus tools in our focus toolbox. I glossed over getting ready and self-regulation, and also how to do that with deep breathing and nature breaks. We started our day with a short list of 3, and we made time blocks and batch work to make sure that those happened. We got really specific with our task list, and we also looked at recipes for repeated task lists for repetitious work or duplicative processes. We also looked at a few things like phone calls as meetings, factoring in rest, and routines for household tasks so they aren't distracting us as we work from home. So all of those are working towards us finding, keeping, and returning to focus in our workday. Most of these are for virtual workers, but they can certainly work in a traditional workplace as well. I hope you found at least some of them helpful, and I'd love for you to keep those handy. So depending on your day and what you need to accomplish that day, you can pull out any of those tools when you feel the need. Support around getting things done is what productivity coaching is all about. If it's time to invest in yourself and explore coaching for organizing and productivity, I would love to hear from you. Drop me a line via email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com or message me through my social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Thanks so much, and I will talk to you next week.